Welcome!
So welcome to the ultimate vegan brekkie!
It might sound like a total contradiction, but every Christmas day our extended family would cook rashers and sausages
eggs
and we'd be left there on our own eating our little bowl of porridge. And last year Dave decided, okay, let's come up with the ultimate vegan brekkie and let's see what they think. So we made really delicious vegan brekkie. Family loved it. We included the recipe in our blue book.
Yeah, it worked so well that we wrote it in our last book.
And it went great. Anyway, so we want to make it for you today and we want to kind of pimp it up even slightly more. So here we go. We're going to start with baked beans. So we're going to make homemade baked beans. They just taste that much better. Obviously you can use a canned version if you don't have the time, but they're so... That was good, wasn't it? Yeah. But they're so worth making yourself.
Okay, 1.5 tablespoons of oil.
Okay, into the pan I have 2 cloves of garlic that I've pre-chopped, and I have 2 medium onions. Let's fry them down for a couple of minutes just until they start to brown. Next step, take 2 full tins of barlotti beans. That's 2 400ml tins. We drained them, removed the juice, and in they go. On top of that, we have 1 jar of passata, that's 680ml or 680 grams.
Okay, now to season it all up, so we've got my favourite tamari, 3 tablespoons of tamari.
That's going to bring a lovely umami flavour to it. Traditional beans normally has an acid in it and a sweetness, so we're going to bring in our acid, we're bringing apple cider vinegar, 3 tablespoons of that. Just to balance that acidity, we have 3 tablespoons of sweetener, we're going to use maple syrup. In on top of that, we're going to season it up, so that's kind of getting the balance of it. Now we're going to add in 2 bay leaves.
These are optional, not essential by any means.
But they just add another undercurrent of flavour. So we're going with doing a little bit.
Okay, in terms of seasoning, we've got 2 teaspoons of salt.
It's about half a teaspoon of black pepper. A little bit of chilli just to give it a little bit of chili flakes, to give it a bit of texture and just add a little bit of fire.
A bit more personality.
Last and final seasoning for the beans, 2 teaspoons of ground cumin.
I'm gonna knock them down, leave them simmering away there.
We call bacon rashers in Ireland, so it's time to make our rashers. We're basing our rashers on tempeh. Tempeh comes from Indonesia. Instead of tofu being as a soybean curd, this is actually where the whole soybean has been partially digested by a culture. It's kind of more grizzly and adds an amazing texture.
Okay, so we're gonna make our marinade first for our rashers. So I've got 2 tablespoons of water. I'm just adding it into a jug. This is simple, we're just gonna whisk it up with a fork. I've got 4 tablespoons of oil. We've got a decent tablespoon of tomato puree. I'm going in with a teaspoon of smoked paprika. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder. In it goes.
2 tablespoons of Dave's favourite black sauce, that's tamari. That's gonna bring the umami flavour.
And just to balance that and to give another depth of flavour, we've gone with a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And lastly, we have 1 teaspoon of maple syrup or liquid sweetener of choice.
Just give it a nice mixture, and that's gonna be the basis of our marinade for our tempeh rashers. So we bought fresh tempeh. It's worth seeking out rather than the frozen stuff. It's not that expensive, and just chop it into thin strips. Generally you want it really, really thin, because the thinner it is, the more you can get flavour per surface area. Next, level them out in a pan like that.
And we're just going to pour over our marinade. Just kind of mix it right around them, because the marinade is the really essential bit.
Okay, Dave's dying to get his fingers in here. Just make sure you have clean hands. In you go, and massage them.
Lovely. Give them a bit of roly-poly. Ideally you'd leave them sit, but in all reality, we're just going to bang them straight in the pan now.
Good to go. So get a pan, high heat. Let's get a little bit of oil in there. Oh, nice bit of grizzle. Jesus. Okay, the vegan rashers are done. It's time to get our scrambled egg on. And just at an outset, I want to be really honest with you. This looks really like scrambled egg, but it doesn't taste like scrambled egg. It tastes really delicious and it goes great. However,
just different egg.
Yeah, just while we're trying. Okay, first step, we've chopped half a small onion and 1 clove of garlic. In a pan, put 1 tablespoon of oil. In the pan, I'm gonna add in our garlic and our onion. Beautiful. Now for the exciting part. Time to scramble our tofu, Dave. So this is a 200-gram block of tofu. This is a firm tofu. And just literally rip it up with your hands. In on top of that, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of tamari. Just gonna give a nice depth of flavor. Well, just tofu's a great carrier for flavor, but you gotta add the flavor to it. So we're gonna add that lovely umami flavor, which goes fab with it. Last thing to start to give it its yellow flavor, or yellow color, we've half a teaspoon of turmeric. So try not to go any more than half a teaspoon. So with this, you're just trying to fry it down just until the tofu cooks and it starts smelling fab. Kind of starts to golden a little. It is actually very good. Just fry the tofu until it starts to slightly brown at the edges. Once it starts to brown, it's ready to go. Okay, time to get our sausages on. We've pre-made our sausages. These are simple vegan sausages, well worth trying. Recipe is just up here. We're gonna fry these off. Well worth trying, they just accompany it great. Okay, I've got a pan with a tablespoon and a half of oil on high heat. We're just gonna add our sausages to it. While Dave's frying off the sausages, I'm gonna make some Wilson spinach and mushrooms. Goes fab and well worth trying, because this is the ultimate vegan breakfast. First step, 2 cloves of garlic, just chop them finely. Okay, for wilting our mushrooms, we put 1 tablespoon of oil in a pan. In goes our 2 cloves of garlic. They're gonna fry away. As they're frying away, I have 100 grams of oyster mushrooms. Worth seeking out, these are big, beautiful ones.
They're like king oyster, those
Yeah,
are.
these are really big fellas. I'm just gonna rip them up with my hand. Lovely and grizzly.
These had a really kind of meaty, substantial taste to them. Okay, so sausages have cooked for a couple of minutes until they've kind of browned and goldened up on both sides. They smell fab, they're ready to go. I'm gonna pop them over here on the plate.
So with our mushrooms, just be patient. There is actually a huge amount of moisture in mushrooms. Just give them a little bit of time. So we have the pan on high heat because we want this to happen quick, but just keep them moving to avoid them browning, and just wait until the moisture starts to release before we add some tamari.
Oh, these are so good though, these are fantastic.
Okay, so once the mushrooms have released lots of their moisture and it's looking kind of all ready to go.
Approximately 3 minutes.
About 3 minutes. Take out Dave's secret sauce, tamari. Let's add in 2 tablespoons of tamari. Take apple cider vinegar and we're just gonna put in a tiny little drizzle. So that's about, tiny drizzle, that was about half a teaspoon. As all the moisture starts to evaporate, don't worry, let's take our spinach. We have 100 grams of washed baby spinach, in it goes. Might seem like a huge amount, but it's just gonna wilt down to very little.
Boom. Mushrooms done, looking fab. Okay, so now plating up time. I'm gonna start with the beans. We go with a couple of decent spoons of beans.
Look great.
Good place to start with. Really nice and rich and delicious.
Next step, I have some toast. Okay, time to go with the rashers next. Good handful of rashers. Okay, 2 sausages a man. Time for the scrambler.
Okay, and saving the best for last, we have the oyster mushrooms and spinach, wilted spinach. Jeez, it looks
Here we go, look at that, amazing colours. When I was little, I never got a brekkie that bright and vibrant and exciting.
I'm going straight in there with the rashers.
I'm going straight in with a bit of toast, some beans, and some shrooms. On a little bit of tofu.
It's like the old school days, being competitive.
Yeah, fighting for dinner.
It's brekkie. Class, really, really good.
So much flavour.
Thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe. If you're interested, that's a recipe from our blue book. There's a link below if you're interested in buying it.
Do try this, it's so tasty and so rewarding. It might take you a little bit of time, but it's so worth it. Cook it for yourself, someone you love.
Great one for a Sunday morning. And if you do cook it, tag us on Instagram.